Welcome to Versus, just Versus. And it's our first week of the two of us, your favorite folks who watch bad horror movies. I'm Calamity John Maher. That is the virtuoso, Will Cohen. Will, how you doing this evening?
I am doing good. Despite the fact that we both watched this film, I'm doing okay.
Not only did we watch this film, this is something that, like, at least now we know, like, we're planning in advance. This is the beginning of a 3-episode arc where we are covering the Humpty Dumpty franchise. Let's just jump right into it.
Any family history of memory problems?
No, I don't think so.
My grandmother had dementia. Didn't she, Mum?
Did she? There's no point babying Mum until she needs it.
I am not babying Mum.
We've got everything we need right here in the house.
But we are here to care for her. I mean, she can't manage in this big house all by herself.
It can't be. How did it get here before us?
I don't know, there's something off about this.
There's something about that doll. And I just need to remember why your father and I got rid of it.
Still had that thing? I thought you got rid of that thing a long time ago after... Wendy, how much do you remember?
I saw it! I know what a dream is and I know what reality is. I'm not crazy!
But he was a very special doll. One that everyone adored.
How's Humpty? Has he been behaving himself?
I'm as confused as you are. I mean, that trailer kind of sums up what I guess they wanted to go on, and like, this takes me all the way back to when we covered the Jack and Jill franchise. Like, they just take the fucking nursery rhyme and they put it in the trailer like it has anything to do with anything. This doll doesn't sit on a wall. This doll, I guess, falls to the ground, but it doesn't break. There's no king's horses. There's no king's men, and the doll is always put together. So I don't know what Humpty Dumpty has to do with anything other than the fact that this doll is named Humpty Dumpty, I guess.
Yeah, Humpty Dumpty had several falls, but all the king's horses and all the king's men could not put together a comprehensible film. But every fifth Jagged Edge film, they accidentally entertained me. I kind of feel like with this one, either they gave a shit enough or didn't give a shit at all, to the point where it's like that it just dives down to the fact that the bell curves right back around to actually being somewhat entertaining.
Yeah, there's a lot of plots. There's a dementia plot, like where the mother has dementia.
And then a couple of weeks ago, I went out and I got a bit lost. So I had to call my daughter to come and get me.
I found her walking down the middle of the road as if it was the pavement.
That's fine. You know, there's a what happened to the dad plot.
See, this thing that strikes me, something that's never quite sat with me, is how we just walked out on the three of you. Yes, he had his issues, don't we all? No one's this vision of perfection. But he wouldn't leave the girls.
Also fine. And then there's just like the doll. Now, let's start from the beginning. Mom lives in the city. She has dementia. The daughters decide to move mom up to this house in the country that they grew up in, right? They mentioned that the girls grew up there. So they have this, like, it's the same mansion that they use in Croc and every other movie, but it's a mansion with a caretaker, right? That's been abandoned. The caretaker still works. What the hell was the mother doing for money? Like there's so much. I mean, I can't even like. There's money here. Like it, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense that they would have all this money, but they somehow have all this money.
And not only that, but then you have like, was it the creepy aunt who just like shows up out of nowhere?
Yeah, the aunt who is significantly younger than the mother. She is the disappeared husband's sister, and she knows that something happened to her brother. She knows. She's like, I don't believe he just disappeared yet. And she knows the evidence is in the house, I guess, because she waits until they move back into the house to start investigating. If I suspected my brother had been killed, I don't think I would do my family members the service of waiting until they maybe move back into the house to investigate. I would have at least called the police.
Our mother died. He didn't even show up to the funeral.
He left me and the girls, from what I recall.
And furthermore, if you suspected that someone from the family murdered your family member, why would you confront them alone?
Right.
So again, we have a lot of the typical Jagged Edge tropes. This one right from the beginning is just bad fucking decision making. Right off the bat. Check. Think like, people mysteriously having like loads of money for no reason. Check. People having diseases that clearly the writers have no understanding of. Check. So you have 3, and the film hasn't even reached the 20-minute mark yet.
Any family history of memory problems?
No, I don't think so.
My grandmother had dementia.
Let's just set the stage. We have the mom. Mom is Wendy. 2 daughters, Liz and Hazel. However, there's also like a subplot where it's revealed that Wendy had a miscarriage, which basically started all of her issues with her husband. And then they adopted Hazel.
It's me, Hazel.
I wrote it down. Who are you?
Mum, whatever you have written in your journal, it isn't true, all right?
Right? Well, it feels unnecessary. So they have the miscarriage, and the miscarriage was named Hazel. They adopt the baby, named that Hazel. And then basically, like, she lives her entire life not knowing she's adopted. And her story arc ends where she's like confronted with the fact that she's adopted, like treated like absolute shit, and then immediately killed. Like, wow, what a way to die. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, let's try to make sense of this, right? So, mom has dementia, and the dementia has affected specifically what happened to her husband. Though this doll has to do with the disappearance of her husband, because there's a throwaway scene where Liz finds a book about Humpty Dumpty, where Humpty Dumpty is apparently like a pagan god of some sort. Yeah. And like there's all kinds of like naked witch ladies dancing around him in circles and everything. So apparently, like this doll, which you see in the beginning of the movie, get assembled. Like it's a doll somebody makes, right? So but it's a demon.
So I don't want to spoil too much about the trilogy. They do explain that in further entries, kind of.
We'll get to it.
But trust me, this is only the tip of the iceberg of how nutty this trilogy is about to get. But yeah, once again, they're trying to pull a Tim Burton here and take a classic bit of children's literature and try and make it creepy. Well, Tim Burton, they're not, because at least Tim Burton understands that if he can't write it, he can hire people competent enough to write it for him. And they don't have John August's number. So they rely on whatever homeless guy they were able to bribe for like $5 and a bottle of booze.
Scott Chambers and Sam Ashurst wrote this. I mean, Scott Chambers does a lot. He directed, he produced, he wrote, he did everything. Scott Chambers.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So we have that, right? So Humpty Dumpty is a demon that can be assembled and inhabited, right? We know that he either is responsible for the death of the husband or he possesses the mother to kill the husband, but the mother has accomplices in the death of the husband. And did she kill the husband because the husband was abusive? I guess that's implied that he abused her. Because he chokes her or something, right? So let's assume the husband's a bad guy. They kill him, right? So whatever. You're on the, I guess you're on the right side of history, killing an abuser. But then there's this whole conspiracy where like her, the doll maker, and the groundskeeper all like smear blood on their faces, and the doll is there. Seems like a large undertaking just to bump off your abusive husband. If I was going to kill my abusive spouse, I surely wouldn't invoke a demon to do it, especially if I have a complicit groundskeeper to help me out. I have an able-bodied gentleman who's good with power tools. Who's going to help me out? What do I need a demon for?
You still have that thing? I thought you got rid of that thing a long time ago after... Wendy, how much do you remember?
Again, this all goes back to the jagged trope of just shitty decision making. It's like they're kind of taking the principle of the Hitchcock principle of no one's going to call the cops because calling the cops is boring. But there's a difference between being boring and being stupid. And yeah, invoking a demon, like I can't think of a single time when invoking a demon has ever made things positive. I really don't.
Yeah, well,
and so
there probably is at least one, but I can't think of any either.
I mean, I'm trying to make certain jokes so we don't get canceled on our very first episode. But yeah.
Well, let's move on here, right? So then they lay the dementia angle on real thick, but they kind of like make it ambiguous on purpose as to whether or not Wendy is the killer or this doll is killing people. Like there's flashbacks where Wendy's the murderer, but then
Right.
there's also like real-time action where the doll is killing people. So like are we the unreliable narrators? Like wow, what a twist.
And you see, this is the part that actually entertained me, because like I feel like they had the bones of something really great there.
Well, they're going to undo all that, even if that was the thing. Even if it turns out that Wendy is so deranged and demented that she's the killer, they undo all that in the trilogy.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's also they're not the first ones to really do this either, because this is essentially like how First Blood was all about, PTSD-ridden soldiers from Vietnam coming back and being treated like shit, and then they just kept on like making Rambo into an action figure later on. They're kind of doing something similar here, but for one brief shining moment in The Curse of Humpty Dumpty, they had you questioning whether or not they were accidental geniuses or not. And had they been able to pull that off with a competent writer, I think they would have had gold on their hand, making the audience the unreliable narrator, or at least putting that out the ether, going, okay, is it A or B? Is it the mother, or is it really a possessed doll? And just us not knowing. But that one of the other Jagged Edge tropes is that they overshow their hand. Check. And they kind of do that here too. And again, objectively speaking, these are terrible films. But between like some of the kills, which are just so fucking goofy. You can't help but smile at them. And the fact that they accidentally, like the monkey who accidentally made Shakespeare, someone from Jagged Edge almost made a brilliant movie. And unfortunately, like every other Jagged Edge film, it disintegrates in the third act. If you can even call it a third act.
The third act is just everyone but the mother gets killed. And like, it's weird because okay, let's talk about the groundskeeper, whatever his name was, Bill. He was not, I don't feel like he was gonna spill the beans. He is complicit in the murder. He's legitimately concerned about her dementia.
Right.
Never really outwardly threatens to expose her. I think he was genuinely concerned. And then the doll kills him anyway. Like that doesn't fit with the motive either, because the doll had previously only killed people who were a threat to exposing the secret.
Either that or just a threat to the mother in general.
Right.
But again, once again, you run into the other, one of the other tropes of Jagged Edge, inconsistency.
Check.
Check.
And I gotta talk about that final scene too, where just mom is just so it, and then you have to wonder, okay, if mom is the killer, right? Does this senior citizen or middle-aged woman at the kindest have the ability to drag all these dead bodies around the house and stage them like that? I don't think so.
But therein lies the question: does she actually have dementia? Because technically, if you remember, she was never actually formally diagnosed as having dementia. They just kind of said, "Oh, well, your mother had dementia. Grandma had dementia."
Yeah.
But we don't know if you do.
But I will go back to the big reveal. Okay, first of all, the opening scene of does she have dementia is her birthday party, and she's 50. She is a hard-looking 50, but she is 50, and she is sitting there holding her birthday cake where she's blown out the candles, and apparently she sat in this chair holding her birthday cake while every guest in her party left. So she didn't move. She held the cake in her lap. Room full of people. They just got uncomfortable and left, and she doesn't remember any of it.
Mom?
That's weird.
But you see, once again, this goes back to what I previously said, where they give a diagnosis or a hypothesized diagnosis, but don't understand the symptoms. That to me is not really a sign of dementia. That to me is just lost time. That's that's
a dissociative fugue. We call it in the business.
There you go.
She had a dissociative fugue, which I guess she also seems to me to have traditional, vanilla PTSD surrounding the fact that she's a fucking murderer.
Not only that, but there's also just the slightest Salt Bay sprinkling of depression in there, just run-of-the-mill depression. And so somehow they're attempting to do psychoanalysis math and thinking, well, if we add all these together, yeah, that's dementia. No, it fucking isn't. But true. Again, they're trying to be more than they are, trying to seem more intelligent than they are, which guess what? Check, another jagged trope.
Let's set the stage for next week, okay? At the end of this movie, Wendy is alive. Her family is all dead. All of her friends and relatives are dead, with the exception of the lady that sold her the doll. Humpty Dumpty is there, fully intact, in her possession in that house. Let's remember this. Wendy's alive. She's the main character. Humpty Dumpty is in that house, fully intact. Okay? That's all you need to remember for next week.
Pretty much.
Every week, we don't need you to watch this movie, but if you do watch this movie, we're going to give you a drinking game, and Will is going to help us out as well. What do we got this week for our people that are going to watch this movie? If we're going to make it pleasant for them, what drink should they have with this movie?
All right. So I want to spill the beans on this one just a little bit, just kind of give you an incentive to tune in the next few weeks, because, oh boy, not only do these films get weirder, but as anyone who's been watching the last few weeks that I've been on, I have found a cocktail that goes with the theme or title of the movie. Well, because there are 3 of these, somehow I found a trilogy of cocktails that get weirder as they go along. At least in name. I haven't looked at the full cocktails of these. I've only done 2 of them. This one, simply called the Humpty Dumpty, first is from a website called lostcocktails.com. Which, yeah, it has more promise than it should. But whoever made this cocktail, I think designed it solely for the purpose of trying to give as many people diabetes as humanly possible.
Let's hear it.
Here is the ingredient list. Fill large bar glass. It says 2 to 3. I don't know what that means. But full of shaved ice. Pretty standard. Here's where it gets fucked. 1 and I'm quoting, heaping teaspoon of bar sugar.
Okay.
1 whole egg broken in.
Okay.
Already they're making a cake.
Yeah, it sounds like a cake.
A quarter jigger, or I believe that's just like, I believe that's an ounce.
Yeah.
Of Jamaica rum.
Okay.
3/4 of jigger, so 3 ounces of brandy.
Okay.
And then you fill it up with milk.
That
shake.
doesn't sound that bad. I imagine you have to mix it, right?
It says you shake it hard.
Yeah.
You strain it into a, and I quote, tall shell glass, because
that's a raw egg though in there.
That is a raw egg.
All right.
But to be fair, you're essentially doing something similar whenever you do an egg white sour.
Yeah, true.
But
that.
The other ones don't include the yolk. This one does.
For all the cholesterol you need. That's where the cholesterol is. You need that.
And then you grate nutmeg on top, because of course you do.
Oh, this is like a festive holiday drink.
So yeah.
All right. So we have our drink. What is the drinking game for this movie? Well, like, when do you think you should take a sip of this drink?
Well, as you know, I always try and design my drinks to get you as completely snockered as humanly possible. So, first and foremost, take a drink whenever the doll does something creepy. Falls down, turns its head, shows up someplace where it magically shouldn't show up. Take 2 drinks, however, every single time you see its goddamn tremor mouth. And this happens fucking often. And it is
I'm going to just piggyback on there. Take a drink every time you see... Okay, there's scenes where that's a doll. And then there's scenes where it's clearly a dude in a costume. Take a sip every time you see the dude breathing and you know the fucking thing is going to move. Take a sip every time you see the dude breathing, because you're going to see him breathing for a large amount of time before he moves. It is the most telegraphed shit I've ever seen. It is horrible. Sorry. Go ahead, Will.
Oh, no, you're fine. Every single time that someone says the word Alzheimer's, or not Alzheimer's, dementia, anytime someone says the word dementia, which in the first 20 minutes, you will be just 3 sheets to the wind, laughing your ass off like I did when I was stone sober watching this at work.
And I want you to have a sidecar, have a separate drink, whether it's a beer or whatever your other drink of choice is, have that on the side. And when they shamelessly pander to child's play, finish that drink.
Baby, stay out. Oh wait, that's 3 words. Children, toddler. Child. Second word.
Ball. Throw.
Fun. Kick. Pleasure. Child's play.
Yeah.
Do it. This movie is called Curse. The sequel is called Cult. And they do a scene in this movie where they pander to child's play for absolutely no reason. We see you and we're ashamed for you. You shouldn't have done that. Ridiculous.
Yeah, if all of these right now don't get you completely shit-faced, that's when we take it up a notch.
Okay.
Take 3 sips whenever someone makes a decision so fucking stupid, you actually say the phrase, either "that's really dumb" or "what the fuck." 3 sips. Your liver will jump out of your chest Xenomorph style at that point and run away.
Well, hopefully we've given you enough reason not to watch this movie, or given you at least the tools to watch this movie. Now, remember, there are 2 more movies. We will be back next week to talk about The Cult of Humpty Dumpty, which is goes in a totally different direction. If you made it this far in the video, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Join us on this channel. There's a ton going on. So this is Versus. This is every Monday. This Tuesday, there's a special Why We Love Horror, where I'm interviewing the director, the lead actress, and the composer of the movie Fragile Nest. Be there tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 o'clock. That'll be dropping as a Why We Love Horror exclusive. On Thursday, Why We Love Horror, myself, Abby, and Aaron, we're going to be covering Abigail this week. And then every Friday, Why We Love Horror Trivia, a doubleheader of horror trivia just for you. And then come back here next Monday for more Verses. I am Calamity John Maher. That is the virtuoso Will Cohen. And we appreciate you showing up.